Did you know that overthinking can make your future more miserable? You might think that taking the time to carefully plan out all the details of your life will lead to better outcomes. But according to researchers, overthinking is actually most likely to ruin your future if you're procrastinating on something difficult. When we have to complete a difficult task, our brains get caught in a loop. First, it triggers a burst of stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline. This activates the fight or flight response, so you escape to the first place your brain thinks of where you can be safe, which is often not doing anything. And then, when you feel guilty about being lazy, you start overthinking. Overthinking fuels more stress hormones, and the cycle continues. So how do you break this dangerous procrastination loop? In today's video, we'll look at proven strategies from experts like Tim Pychyl, Mark Murphy, and Neil Fiore to help you take action instead of overthinking. Here are 7 ways to stop delaying. 1. Trick your brain into taking action. We know that if you want to build healthy habits, the key is to make them easy to start. If you want to read more books, leave a book by your bed. If you want to wake up earlier, put your alarm clock far away from you. Basically, remove any obstacles between you and your goal so that there is nothing stopping you from starting except inertia. But sometimes you need to trick your brain into taking action, even when you don't feel motivated. Let's say that you have an important presentation tomorrow, but you keep putting off preparing for it because it's scary. Instead of waiting until you feel ready, force yourself to do a tiny bit. Maybe just open the presentation software and plan out the structure of your slides. It doesn't matter what you do as long as you do something. Once you get started, the hardest part is done. Then you can use momentum to carry you forward. According to Goggins, former Navy SEAL, if you just do something every day to move you closer to your goal, you'll eventually build up enough momentum to reach your destination. 2. Set deadlines to trick your lizard brain. Procrastination is driven by 2 basic emotions, fear and desire. Fear makes us want to escape, but desire makes us want to approach. The secret to overcoming procrastination is learning to use these emotions to your advantage. According to Mark Murphy, author of the 9 Rules of Endurance, setting deadlines helps tap into our lizard brain sense of urgency. It creates artificial pressure so that you're forced to take action instead of escaping. That's why the best way to set deadlines isn't just to say do this by Friday or finish this by the end of the month. Instead, you should try something called the deadline paradox. The deadline paradox is a concept introduced by Tim Pychyl, a psychologist who studies procrastination. He found that people are most productive when their deadlines are slightly unrealistic. By making your deadline a little bit more challenging, you motivate yourself to work harder and smarter. Here's how to apply the deadline paradox to your own life. Pick a project that you've been procrastinating on and ask yourself, what is the absolute earliest that I can finish this project and still do a good job? This becomes your new deadline. For example, let's say you want to start a side business. You could give yourself a deadline of due market research in the next week, but according to Pychyl's research, it is better to set a more challenging deadline, like do market research by the end of this week or launch the MVP version of my product by the end of the month. A word of warning though, be careful not to overdo it with the deadline paradox. If the deadline is too tight, you may end up rushing through your work and not do a good job after all. 3. Create a do-it-later box. Part of the reason why procrastination is so hard to overcome is because the longer you delay dealing with your problems, the larger they grow in your mind. This makes it harder to take action, which means you end up delaying even more. Psychologist Neil Fiore suggests creating a box where you can put all the tasks that you need to do later. Write down the tasks on slips of paper and put them in the box. Every time you find yourself procrastinating, take 1 slip of paper out of the box and do that task. That way, you stop ruminating about the big task you're avoiding and focus on smaller tasks that you can complete quickly. Plus, you won't forget the original task either because it's still in the box waiting for you. 4. Escape where it's hard to procrastinate. One of the easiest ways to break the procrastination loop is to remove distractions and temptations. When you procrastinate, you usually go to places where it's easy to avoid your work. For example, playing games, scrolling through social media, or watching TV shows. To prevent this, Mark Murphy recommends that you escape to places where it's hard to procrastinate. For example, If you need to write a report, go to a coffee shop or library. Or if you need to come up with creative ideas, go for a walk in the park or hike up a mountain. By going to places where it's harder to procrastinate, you reduce the temptation to escape. You also signal to your brain that you're serious about getting work done. When you return home, it'll be easier to continue working. 5. Reward yourself. One way to get past the stress and overthinking of a difficult task is to reward yourself afterward. When you finish your work, no matter how small the progress is, give yourself a pat on the back. Tell yourself, well done. You did the hard thing today. You can also reward yourself with something enjoyable, like watching an episode of your favorite TV show, reading a chapter of a fun book, or having a relaxing bath. Rewards can be powerful motivators. They trigger the release of dopamine, a neurotransmitter associated with pleasure and satisfaction. By rewarding yourself for completing difficult tasks, you create a positive feedback loop. This makes it easier to keep taking action even when you don't feel motivated. Just make sure your rewards aren't interfering with your goals. It's fine to watch TV, but maybe not if it takes you 5 hours. Choose rewards that allow you to relax without distracting you from your main task. 6. Understand the psychology of procrastination. Knowing how and why we procrastinate is the first step to breaking the habit. As we mentioned earlier, procrastination is usually caused by stress. Stress causes us to overthink. Overthinking makes us feel overwhelmed, which leads to more procrastination. This cycle keeps repeating itself, and you end up with more stress in your life. To break this cycle, it helps to understand what's causing the stress in the first place. For example, let's say you're afraid of public speaking. You're feeling stressed because you're worried about what other people think of you. When you're nervous, you overthink your speech. You're worrying about what to wear, what to say, and whether the presentation will go smoothly. All of this overthinking adds to your stress levels and makes the situation worse. In this case, understanding the psychology of procrastination helps you realize that your stress is coming from your thoughts, not from the presentation itself. Once you understand this, you can take steps to manage your stress, such as practicing mindfulness, talking to a therapist, or joining a support group. 7. Ask for help. Sometimes procrastination is caused by a lack of knowledge. Let's say that you want to learn a new skill, but you keep delaying practicing because you're afraid that you're not good enough. You keep overthinking whether you're doing it right, whether you're making progress, and whether it's worth learning in the first place. Even though you have plenty of time to practice, you never seem to get started. In cases like this, the best solution is to ask for help. Ask someone who knows more than you to guide you through the process. That way, you won't have to worry about making mistakes or wasting time. Plus, having someone to keep you accountable can help you stay motivated and focused. So don't be afraid to ask for help when you need it. It's not a sign of weakness, it's a sign of strength and wisdom. We hope that these tips will help you take action instead of overthinking. Remember, the hardest part is often just getting started. Once you do, you'll gain momentum and motivation to keep going. Are you struggling with procrastination? If so, what are some things you've tried that have worked for you? Let us know in the comments below. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more awesome psychology videos. Thanks for watching.